There's a certain kind of silence in Shadow of the Colossus, a silence that doesn't feel peaceful, but heavy. It's the silence that comes after the fight, after the dust settles, after the Colossus, this enormous living monument, finally collapses. You think it would feel triumphant. You've done what you came to do, you survived, you conquered, you've achieved the impossible. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels wrong. That's the one part that defines Shadow of the Colossus for me. The moment when a creature falls, and for just a few seconds you're left in that quiet, uneasy space between victory and regret. Because this is the part where the game stops being a heroic adventure and starts becoming something else entirely. When you start playing, Shadow of the Colossus feels almost like a fairy tale. You're Wanda, a lone traveller carrying the body of a girl named Mono into a forbidden land. A voice from the heavens tells you that if you can destroy 16 colossi, ancient beings scattered across the world, she can be brought back to life. At its surface, it sounds like a simple story. A noble quest, maybe even a romantic one. A man defying the gods to save the one he loves. But as you ride across the barren landscape, you start noticing something strange. There's no one else here. No people, no wildlife, just ruins. And these creatures, these so-called enemies, they aren't rampaging monsters. They're peaceful, slow, almost majestic. They exist in harmony with the land until you arrive sword in hand, desperate and determined. And the game never tells you to stop. It just lets you keep going, one after another. The moment the Colossus begins to fall is cinematic, but it's not the kind of cinematic we're used to. There's no triumphant music, no mission complete. Instead, the camera lingers, the music swells not in celebration, but in mourning, a sorrowful melody that feels like a funeral. The creature stumbles, its weight breaking the earth beneath it. Dust rises, light bends, and for a brief moment, you see the sheer tragedy of what you've done. The Colossus throughout the game don't just die, they fall, slowly, painfully, like something ancient's being erased. Even Wanda himself just stands there, no cheering, no relief, just breathing, watching, waiting for it to end. It's haunting because for the first time you start to wonder, was Wanda ever the hero of this story? What makes these moments so powerful is how they turn success into guilt. Games are built on the idea of progress. You overcome a challenge, you move forward. But Shadow of the Colossus turns that logic on its head. Here, victory feels like a loss. Every time you win, the world grows quieter. Wanda grows paler, his body begins to change. You start realizing that every step forward takes something from Wanda and the world itself. The Colossi aren't villains. They're ancient, sacred beings. Some barely even fight back, and yet every one of them has to die for you to reach your goal. By the halfway point, you stop feeling like you're on a noble mission. It starts to feel like you're desecrating something sacred, and the game wants you to feel that way. Because that's where its power lies, not in what it lets you do, but in how it makes you question why you're doing it. The brilliance of Shadow of the Colossus is that it never tells you any of this outright. There's almost no dialogue, no cutscenes explaining your emotions. Everything is communicated through design. When a Colossus falls, the camera doesn't focus on you. It focuses on them. The sky darkens, the music slows to a mournful hum, and then these black tendrils, dark, violent energy erupt from the Colossus' body and pierce Wanda. You don't get the typical reward screen, you don't level up, you just collapse. It's a punishment disguised as progress, a masterclass in emotional storytelling through game design. And the worst part, you know it's coming every time. You know you're going to be punished. You know you'll feel awful about it. But you keep going anyway, because you have to. And that's what makes this game so fascinating, how it uses your own instincts against you. You want to win, you want to see what happens next, you want to believe that all this destruction is for something. But deep down, you start to realize it's not. The voice guiding you is manipulative, the promise of resurrection becomes an obsession, and with each Colossus that falls, the world around you decays, not visibly, but spiritually. The air feels heavier, the silence feels deeper. Wanda looks less like a savior and ends up looking more like a ghost of his former self. And that's why to me, Shadow of the Colossus remains a masterpiece all these years later. Because each fall of each Colossus stays with you long after the credits roll. It's not about the challenge, it's about the feeling, the quiet aching guilt that lingers after the victory. The game doesn't punish you for playing it, it just makes you feel the weight of playing, and in doing so it creates something rare, a story that lives not in dialogue, but in the pauses between action. A story told through guilt, silence and reflection, because sometimes the most powerful part of the game isn't when you win, it's when you realize what you had to destroy to get there.